Hi, this is Atlas, joined by Ben Richards, and we're here to talk today about organizations. More importantly, what we did to start ours, what our motivations were, and the steps that we took to get as far as we have.
Which is not that far.
Right, which is, awful. So, I think... Do you want to start this or me?
I'm fine with you starting if you have an idea what you wanted to start off with.
Well, I guess we could just talk about, why we started our own organizations versus just joining someone else's.
Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, I've joined other people's organizations in the past. I played a lot of World of Warcraft in high school, stuff like that. I don't know. I thought it'd be really interesting to run my own group for once. And initially it started out as this is a way all of our friends could get together, and we kind of developed some ideas that would require us to expand and have more people, and that's kind of how at least I got rolling on it. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. Yeah, one addendum is we both started out with the idea that our organization would be primarily comprised of our friends. And that's quickly going either out the window or down the shitter.
That's one way to put it.
Well, PG-13. You take your pick. Oh, was that you?
What?
Nothing. Okay, so the reason that I had created my own organization, and I think part of this is probably going to, go to Ben Richards as well. I really didn't want to have to deal with the schedules that hardcore groups are going to be putting on their members, most likely. But I also wanted to make sure that the people I was playing with, they were going to have at least some commitment to the game. So it's not quite the casual approach to the game either. It was kind of going right down the middle. And we have, pretty varied interests in what we want to do with the game. I think I'd be spending most of my time in game with Ben Richards, or maybe one of two or three other friends. And their focus is primarily combat, whereas I'm more interested in the trading, economics of the game. So it almost made sense because of our really varied interests, but who we wanted to spend the time with, to create our own organizations.
Right. I mean, you have a lot of really big orgs, like Explore, Imperium, and stuff like that. They do everything, and they have the player base to do that. And even if, the odds of creating an organization that big are pretty low to starters, but even if we had the ability to create that organization, at least me personally, I don't want an organization that big. I'd like my organization to be bigger than it is currently, because it's very small currently, but yeah. I'd like my ideal organization size is one that's big enough for us to get a lot of stuff done that we want to get done, but small enough that I can personally know every member of my organization.
Now, when you say yours, does that include, does that mean just yours? Or does that also include the affiliates?
Well, I didn't think about that, but that's a good point. I have a feeling that our organizations are going to be working together enough that I will probably know, pretty much everyone in your organization as well.
Yeah.
But I hadn't thought of that. I'd like to know everyone in both. It kind of depends on how much they expand. But, for me personally, I was thinking in my organization alone, since that's going to be what I'm going to be spending most of my time running.
Right. And the reason I ask that is actually because I'm leaning more towards the casual side of normal gaming with my organization. It makes me wonder whether or not we're going to have more players who spend less time in game to come out with the same total number of hours played. Or if I'm going to be able to find that same group of dedicated players that you expect to find.
Right.
So is it just me or did my audio quality just take a shit?
You still sound okay. I don't know. Do you, with your setup, because we've been experimenting with different audio setups.
I literally have not touched anything,
yourself?
And the sound I'm getting right now seems subpar compared to just a minute ago.
Is it from me?
No, I could audibly hear a difference between now and a minute ago. But regardless, I'm legible.
Okay. I was going to ask if you're still self-monitoring.
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
So going back to the organizations, that's where I was coming from. And also, I kind of do want to try my hand at organizing a larger group.
Right.
And I think that kind of ties back to one of the reasons I wanted to create an organization, which is also I wanted the ability to test at least some of the things I've learned in school, being a business major, and kind of focusing on like the organizational structures of businesses. So, it's very rare that you get to actually put schooling to work in a video game.
Right. And I was not a business major, so I'm not going to come from that same area of expertise when it comes to management in video games, at least. My current job has given me a little bit of experience managing people, but other than that, not so much. But I am looking forward to, the opportunity to run my own organization.
Yeah, yeah. So that's where we come from. Let's talk about the steps we've actually taken to achieve that goal, I guess.
Yeah. I guess the first step, if you're looking at creating your own new organization, is, actually creating it, which
Pretty
is
simple.
actually, it's a pretty simple process.
Yeah.
Yeah, you go to, the community tab and under organizations, it gives you the option of finding an organization if you're looking for a specific one, or you'd be creating one. So, and then if you create one, you can't be a member of, an organization. Or at the very least, you can't have an organization as your main. You can have an affiliate organization, but you can't have a main organization when you create your own organization.
Right. So, basically, all you really have to worry about is naming, getting your membership in line, and that's about it, right?
Oh, yeah, more or less. You basically have to pick your name, your Spectrum ID,
Mm-hmm.
and your archetype. When the archetypes are organization, corporation, PMC or private military company, faith or syndicate. And then you choose other stuff like the level of commitment you'd like out of your players,
Right.
casual, regular, hardcore, your primary language, and whether or not your
Role-playing.
organization is going to have some role-playing aspects
Yeah.
to it. Yeah. And then your activities, basically. So, like, under activities, you have a lot of different options. You pick a primary and a secondary. So you have things like bounty hunting, trading, transport, piracy, security.
All the good
things like
stuff.
that. Yeah.
So once you've got that all ironed out, for instance, I believe I went trading and freelancing. What were you? What was your final two?
Security as the primary and resources as the secondary.
There you go. So once you got that all hammered out, you really have to figure out what kind of people you want in your group.
Yeah, we'd kind of talked about it because originally Atlas's organization had come first.
Right.
And the more we talked about it, the more we decided that it would be good to split the two. So my organization, I wanted people that were, primarily combat focused for the most part. And I was looking for people that would be on regularly. I don't plan on having like a set schedule, like, you have to be here at these times and these days, but I'd like for people to be on fairly regularly so that we can all get together and play a lot of Arena Commander, which is currently out, and the FPS module, which is supposed to come out sometime early next year. And so, we can all get better at the game as a team, and also, the more you play with people, the more you start to be able to anticipate what they're going to do, that sort of things. It builds better unit cohesion. So I'm looking for people that are on fairly regularly and willing to improve, people that mesh really well.
Yeah. And aside from that, just, nice people.
Right.
So I'm kind of in the same, I'm going for the same lines that Ben Richards is going for. I would like some people, at least some of them, to be a little bit more dedicated than the others. I understand that there's going to be a lot of people who, sign on once a week, once 2 weeks, maybe once a month. And I'd be happy to have them on board. But with something like shipping or, running freight, you do have to be able to provide that service pretty regularly. So I would need at least some kind of core group that were pretty dedicated to the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot you're gonna probably attract a lot more casual players into your organization than I am into mine,
Yeah.
but that's okay as long as you get some people that are at least reasonably dedicated. I mean, that's where you're gonna get the leaders in your organization
Yeah,
from.
exactly. That's where the senior officers come from. Originally, as we were talking about, that was supposed to be like a group of friends. But because there are friends, we've come to, the realization that they're just not going to be that into the game. I mean, not like Ben Richards and me, at least.
Yeah, I mean, they do seem excited about the persistent universe, but until that comes out, their interest in the game and in growing an organization seem pretty negligible. So,
Well,
that's unfortunate.
even persistent, universe aside, they have a tendency to hop from one game to the next, to the next, to the next. And if they
Right.
do that with Star Citizen, that's just not what I'm looking for.
Right.
So, it's one of those things, where you can kind of tell. Ben Richards and I, we may not post a lot in the forums, but we skulk around there a lot. We spend a
Yeah.
lot of our time in the forums. We spend a lot of our time going through all the old video footage. We spend every week literally talking with each other, watching new Around the Verse. I mean, it's a part of our lives now, just keeping up with the development of the game. And I'd like to be able to find people with that same level of interest,
Put a lot of effort into figuring out how we want to run our organization.
Oh yeah, it was hours and hours, days, trying to figure out what we want to do, how we're going to organize it, developing artwork because I'm a stooge with a pencil.
Yeah, I have zero artistic talent. Fortunately for me, Atlas has at least some artistic talent, so we've developed some neat artwork for both organizations, but one of which might actually be the background on this current video, I imagine.
I mean, it's nothing to the level of Nexus or Corp Incorporated. I aspire to get even anywhere near their level of content production for Star Citizen.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of the luxury of having like a really large organization. If you have like 3,000 members, odds are you're gonna have that one guy who's actually like super talented. But yeah, I mean, Corp Incorporated's YouTube channel is amazing. If anybody's actually listening to this video and hasn't checked that out yet, you really owe it to yourself to check out their videos.
I honestly think we should have a show just talking about the content that other people create for Star Citizen.
Yeah, there's some really amazing people out there.
Oh yeah, there's some really good channels with not a lot of viewers.
A good example of that, I think he's a lot more popular on Twitch. I've only seen his YouTube channel, which didn't actually have that many views on it. Okay, I need to look it up real quick.
Baron, right?
Yeah, it's something Baron, but I don't want to say it wrong. It's Bad News Baron.
Yeah.
He has some hilarious videos where he plays as Darth Vader in Arena Commander.
Those are amazing. By the way, you should go watch those immediately.
But we are getting a little sidetracked.
Yeah. Well, kind of. I mean,
bit.
there are organizations that are doing amazing things in Star Citizen, but
That's fair.
Yeah. Back to the whole creating an organization thing. So when we decided what it was that we wanted to do and who we wanted in our groups, we had to really start focusing on how many people we were going to need, where we were going to get them from, and how to get them. And we're just kind of entering that stage right now.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to start recruiting for my organization until, I had a lot of the lore, so to speak, written, the history, the manifesto, the charter, and like some nice assets like for a company logo and stuff like that. I wanted all that finished before I started trying to recruit people, so it actually looked fairly, decent.
Yeah. Respectable.
Yeah, and that's about the point I am at now. I haven't started sending out a lot of invites yet, but that's kind of my next step. There is a forum in the organization section where people can post if they're looking for an organization. So I'm going to kind of troll through that, and just just mass emailing out invites seem to have worked pretty well for Explorer. The problem is going to be, getting quality people out of that method. So we'll just
Yeah,
have
I
to wait and
mean,
see how that goes.
I've sent out about a half dozen messages so far. There's not a lot of people who are explicitly looking for trade. Of the
Right.
people who I have found, they want a little bit more flexibility than just trade.
Well,
So
you were planning on doing some exploration as well, right?
yeah, but the focus, even with that, is still economic in nature.
Yeah, I gotcha.
So I mean, people, they want some excitement in their life,
Right.
which I understand. So, I mean, that's part of the reason why we had split up, so we could offer both to people who are more interested in one than the other.
Right.
But because we split up, now it's kind of a hassle for someone who wants to do everything.
Yeah. I don't know. It just seemed more logical to split
Break them
them
up,
up,
yeah.
to specialize. Yeah, if you're going to have a smaller group, it seemed like specializing was the way to go.
So, yeah, my recruitment efforts have literally yielded 0 new members.
At least somebody replied.
Yeah,
That was a start.
1 out
Um,
of 6. Not great percentages.
yeah. Came up with that nice letter, like letterhead memo thing for
Mm-hmm.
acquisitions. So maybe that will yield me, some positive benefit. And if it doesn't, I guess I'm just gonna have to start selling the excitement. Like I'll start breaking out the propaganda recruiting posters and stuff like that, and just start mass mailing
Make
those.
it like an army ad.
Yeah, exactly,
Do you want to see the verse? So,
exactly.
in terms of recruiting, I mean, like you said, there's the forums.
Right.
Even outside of just the recruiting forums, if you see someone that talks or does things that you think are cool, or you run into them in an arena commander and you're very impressed with their flying skills, I mean, just throw a message out. It's
Right.
pretty simple. Just don't expect a large percentage of them to return favorably for like the cold call method.
Right.
So, one thing I have seen happening, it's not necessarily recruitment, but it does give you access to larger membership, is a lot of the smaller organizations are affiliating themselves with the bigger ones.
Yeah. Another way I've noticed small organizations kind of boosting, at the very least, the amount they're known, is by offering like a ship giveaway of some sort.
Yeah. I probably could do one of those.
Just expensive.
Yeah, and usually it's newbies too, so you have to do the game package.
Yeah. I mean, it all depends what you want to give away. I know I saw, I believe it was a group called like Fury or The Fury or something like that was giving away a Cutlass Blue.
That's not
Um,
bad.
yeah, that was a pretty big package to give away.
That's something to think about.
Yeah.
Um, so I mean, outside of that, a lot of it has to do with basically crafting the vibe you want your org to give off. Crafting that the backstory, the layout of the organization, all of that. The people who are joining are going to want to know. Like how are you going to split the profits from a job? How are you
Right.
going to handle any loot or salvage you come across? How are you going to, organize everyone? Or is it going to be time zone specific? How is everything going to work out? So when you create an org, there's actually a lot more thinking into it, than one would expect just creating one on the page.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the thought goes into like what kind of feel you want your organization to have, like how you want the command structure to be, like you said, things like that.
Yeah. So it's almost kind of ironic in how easy it is to create an organization, but how hard it is to actually get it off the ground.
Right.
So we just wanted to, impart our experience with the process, why we did it. I still have no regrets, but it's definitely going to be harder with the smaller organization. We're not going to have the same amount of flexibility that a lot of the larger organizations are going to have because of the, what we want to do.
Even with recruiting, I mean, you have a
Yeah.
lot more pull power for an organization like that. But I
Yeah.
mean, I'm hoping that this little series that we're starting now is going to be a nice little, it'll be a nice log of, our experiences in
Captain's
forming our
log.
organization.
There you go.
Yeah,
That's another one right there.
we could call it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. We'll call it Captain's blog.
Captain's blog. But also, hopefully, like if you're someone that's listening that hasn't started work yet, but you were thinking about it, this can give you a little bit of insight into the process.
Yeah. And that's all we really wanted to do, is when I first created my organization, I did not realize how much time and effort I was going to have to putting into it just to get the bare minimum of, effort done to attract people.
Right.
Because it's been a lot of work. Like, you have to be prepared for that.
Well, originally we thought we were just gonna, roll around with our friends, but then we started thinking about it. It's like, well, a lot of them probably aren't going to be on that often.
Yeah.
And also, stuff we're going to want to do is going to require more people. I mean, a constellation alone, what's the crew capacity on that? Like 4 or 5? Like,
5.
man, everything?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we don't have a huge group of friends, so if you got like 5 people on a constellation and a couple others in fighters, that's like everyone, and that's assuming they're all on
At the
simultaneously.
same time. Yeah. And, like, just one constellation probably isn't going to get it done. You'd probably want either... Well, I have the Phoenix, so I don't have a lot of cargo. So we're going to need a cargo ship. We're probably going to need another escort. Like,
While you lounge in your hot tub like hedonism bot.
I regret nothing.
Yeah. So, I mean, all that's going to require, more people. So, and the other thing is it's okay, it has its ups and downs for sure. But I mean, from what I've seen out of the forums, the Star Citizen community is a pretty good group of people most of the time. So it'll be nice to meet more people as we recruit for our organization.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely one thing I'm kind of missing from the way that the organization thing works now, is that I would like to be able to at least make friends that maybe not even necessarily be in the same organization, but make friends and be able to play games with them. You know what I mean? Like, it's a lot of the time it's just you and me, maybe 1 or 2 of our other friends that are playing Vandal Swarm. It'd be nice to kind of make that grow out a little bit.
Right.
So, I think that about wraps it up.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Okay.
Seems like a good place to stop.
Yeah, so this is Atlas. Go ahead.
Oh, we might want to actually plug our organizations. I don't think we actually mentioned the names at all in this cast. So mine is Nakama Acquisitions.
Yes. This is Atlas of Nakama Ventures.
And Ben Richards of Nakama Acquisitions.
Yeah.
Signing
Please
off.
feel free to contact us by any, PM or through YouTube, I guess. You could get to us now if you're curious about joining. So, yeah, Atlas out. And
Have a good evening.
yeah, good evening.